Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Lydia. Welcome to our home in Athens, Georgia. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Lydia Menzies. Welcome to our home in Athens, Georgia. So Athens, Georgia is a wonderful place. The University of Georgia is such a bonus to have and an excellent place to be. And it's funny because I didn't actually go here, but I have embraced, when in Rome, I cheer for the dogs, but I actually am an Auburn Tiger at heart. So it's kind of a fun mix to have a little bit of both, but I absolutely love living in a college town. And we are lucky enough to live within walking distance of the university. And that was a big draw for us, that the location, as having teenagers and children in this area, it's a great walkable neighborhood, very close to schools and all of that. But also there is just this very cool dynamic in this neighborhood, especially of restoring and maintaining the homes that were built so long ago. And we were able to, I want to say we found this house, but truly this house found us because our friends knew, several friends knew, we were looking for a house in Five Points, and we were having no luck. It's kind of hard to get a house, to be honest. And so a friend reached out and said, hey, there's a house that's not on the market. They would like to sell it from just as the owner. The man that lived here had lived here since 1953. So he grew up in this house, and his mother lived here. He moved out. But this has been his home, his parents' home, for over 60 years. So he had a very sentimental, draw to it. It was very important to him to find a family that would want to enjoy it, and he was hoping no one would flip it and no one would knock it down and build a larger home in place of it. He knew that there was no obligation on our part, but at the same time, that is really what we wanted to do. We wanted this to be a family home, and so it just sort of fit really well. And the cool thing about this house is it was built in 1918, and it's one of 4 houses in a row that were built by the same family. And I've been told it was the parents and the children, and they all came and built their houses right in a row so they could all be together. My husband is a licensed general contractor, and he stopped building in about 2005, 2006 in there. But he is able to still, do it all, and he also designed homes, and so he could see how we could rework the space and make it livable for a family of 4, and we wouldn't have to all share one bath. He kind of went all out. He raised the house. He had the house lifted, so now we have it's a 6-bedroom, 5.5 bath, which is pretty amazing to have in such a small space. And we weren't allowed to go. You couldn't build any more house. The house you had was the house you had to work with, so the footprint stayed the same. We were able to add on a porch and a tiny mudroom and a very tiny bathroom. So those were the only things that we added to the house. Otherwise, it was just the space that was here, reworked, and of course, a basement was added underneath. This is my guy Tuck. He heard the door, and so he wants to come and play ball. As you can see, he always has his tennis ball. But welcome to the beginning of our home. We just call it the entryway. And this is our family room, and I purposely wanted to have 2 family rooms versus a really formal sort of sitting area, because they both have porches attached to them. So I wanted it to be sort of a more casual feel. But when you come in, we have these 2 console tables that are flanking each side, and my husband actually made these. I showed him what I liked, and he said, oh, I can make that. And so he did, and then he painted them and lacquered them. So then we have matching stools that go on each side, and those are Society Social. And then the artwork is Ashley Longshore. And when I first started collecting art, I really loved to concentrate on Southern artists, and I think I was feeling like I was sort of helping my area, because those were the ones that I actually knew. And so I found Ashley, but she's from Alabama, but moved to Louisiana, and now she's in New York City. So she is quite a wild woman, but she is so much fun. She is a self-proclaimed wild woman, so I'm not saying anything she wouldn't say. So anyway, Ashley Longshore does these incredible Audreys. I'm very drawn to that silhouette and the colors that she uses. And so you'll see a few others throughout the house. So I have matching Staffordshire dogs on each side, just happen to love those as well. And as you come in, this is one of the very first things I had when we were first married. It's been in so many different places. It was originally bought for the dining room, and it went horizontally. But I just love that look. It's sort of that Hollywood glamour, but it also just works. And so I have had it in many places and just love the reflection that it gives with all the windows. And then as we come around in this room, originally this was the family room, and the man that lived here before we did, he was a UGA professor. He was a chemistry professor. And so this was the family room, and then this was his office connecting. So one of my very favorite pieces is this chair, this hooded chair. I love this chair. It just brings something different to the space. And because this space is a little tricky for me anyway, I'm not an interior designer, but I am the luckiest girl on earth to have two best friends, or two very close friends. I think of them as my brothers, that are interior designers, and they tell me when things need to be shifted or moved or whatever. And this is Parker Kennedy Living, are the guys that I'm very close with, and they actually had this chair in their home. And as they often do, they were ready to do something different, so we ended up putting it here. And so I was really excited to be able to be take the second hand piece of furniture off their hands. So another little funny thing about our coffee table is that I call this the coffee table intervention, because I had a rectangle coffee table that we had since we were married, and Lance of Parker Kennedy Living would say, maybe you should get a different size that would fit better in here. And he kept hinting, but he was way too nice to ever say. So eventually they knocked out the door. They had driven up, and they literally came in and unloaded that coffee table, and we put it in place of this. And they were like, this is what you need. Here's the bill. And this is what you need to have here. So it was so funny, because they literally were like, enough already. No more of that rectangle. So they can see things sometimes that I can't see. So I have that benefit. And Lance is so helpful in that way. He can zhuzh like no one else. On the center of the table, I am a flower person, and I think flowers make every space just look leveled up. And it's also really easy now. You can find them in your grocery stores, and Trader Joe's is my go-to. But so when I'm doing an arrangement, it's fall right now, and I feel limited on the different options that we have. Sometimes it's the mums and the different things, and I really prefer the colorful ones. So I go with the colors that I like, and then I add in little pieces of fall. Like I added in the wheat, just to kind of bring it into the season, but it's not screaming it's fall. I have stacks of coffee table books, which I absolutely love. This is Devon. I lived here in England when I was in college. I actually taught first grade, and I was a student teacher in Devon. And so this is one of my favorite books that I keep on top, all those wonderful memories. And I put my little Staffordshire lady so she can live in England. So I don't really collect a lot of these, but when I find one that I like, I'll add it in. Another thing that is really fun to me, I like to have live plants and flowers. When my son was very little, we had to scale it back because he was really allergic. But I did find that ivy was something that was great to have, no allergy. So these are these beautiful Italian pots that I get from John's Garden Company, John's Garden Co. And they're hand-turned pots, and then he puts these really cute topiaries in them. So you'll see some of those around the house. But he's a wonderful garden source. And then the Staffordshire dogs that are right over here, again, I like it when I find the little Staffordshire dogs that are alone. They don't have a partner, because a lot of times they come in twos. And so these are just older ones that I adopted from the shelter, basically. No, I'm just kidding. But I love to find them at an antique store when they're all alone. I'm especially drawn to them because they need a home. So I like to adopt the little I call them my shelter Staffordshire ones. So that's sort of this table, and again, I think with a square table, is so accurate, is right on the money for being able to move well in this area. So again, my grandmother's my favorite chair that I loved when I was little, probably because it was short and I could sit in it really easily. So I always wanted it, and I ended up being able to have it. I love to add in pillows and things like that that are not necessarily, straight from a place that you can just get right now. So what I like to do is I have two friends, Meredith Lewis and Laurie Byrne, and they find vintage fabrics that are new, and then they create pillows. And so these are very 80s. And my sister was an interior designer in the 80s and in Atlanta, and it just reminds me of being with her. And so I love those fabrics. So that's a really fun way to bring in some vintage fabrics, but they're brand new. These are actually the same, these little vines. And then over here, I have a Hunt Sloanham box where I keep all of my son's game little devices. So I don't even know the right name for them anymore. It all changes so often. But this is where he gets to keep his things in there. Like he puts his headphones and all of that. So these curtains are from Society Social, and they are Lattice. It's like a Brunswick and Fee Lattice, and these are sort of like an animal print, but it's not really an animal print, so it has that feel to it, and it feels a little bit like a leopard print. So what I do when I'm mixing these patterns, I knew I wanted a solid sofa, and then I added in like a smaller pattern. And for me, I mix typically like a stripe or a geometric pattern with a floral, and I try to keep it that way so that the mixture is pleasing to the eye versus being chaotic. And so you'll see different places that have different patterns. Behind us over here we have a houndstooth chair those two chairs were in my husband's office, and I'll show those to you too if you would like. We kept these because they were just comfortable and nobody wanted to get rid of them. So we have these, and then on it, to someone who doesn't know what it is, it looks out of place. But to me, this brings back such great memories for me. My great grandmother made this for my mom. And these are little pieces, little squares cut out of all of her outfits that she loved when she was a teenager. So from like high school on. And then my great grandmother made her a quilt. So things like that, like these have been a part of my childhood and all of that. So I just leave them out, and I don't mind that that's a very different pattern and a different look. I mean, it's clearly, vintage. And so I think that it adds that warmth and that coziness to it. And I think that the houndstooth, manly, more masculine chairs in here, they make a great place to actually watch television. And so my husband's big thing about television is that he really does not like for it to be on the wall and to be able to be seen. He's just not a fan of it. So he built these cabinets, or had the cabinet people do it, but he sort of designed this after he saw it at one of our friends' houses. And they open up and you can just put all your stuff back here, and then they fold, the doors will fold all the way back if you want. Most of the way back. And so there you go. You can have that for your television. And then, like I said, they fold back and they're out of the way. So that is one thing that he really loves. He likes to close it. I personally would like to paint them or do something fun with them, and eventually I think I will. But that's just another project. I think there are always projects to be done. And that's part of what I love about being creative, is that a blank space is just always just ready for you to show what you can do. So I would love to find an artist that could paint them. I'm just not sure yet. But as you can see, I do have a thing for art. On this wall those are some of my very first collections over there. It's blue and white china with these beautiful bright flowers, and they're watercolor originals. And I think that mixing that with the patterns from the pillows, and then also pulling in that curtain fabric, it's pleasing to the eye because of the scale and because of the sizes of the patterns. And I think that that's sort of the trick, is if you get too many of the same size, it's when it's too hard to look at. So I think I think there are a lot of different little tricks, but that's one of my favorites, is just scale. And I think scale is what I had to learn the most to kind of understand how to make a home look peaceful, but yet still have all the colors and patterns. So that would be my tip. And then of course the lamps themselves, they continue with another pattern in blue and white, and it's just a very typical chinoiserie blue and white. And then above, over here on this wall, we have art. So anytime there's something to celebrate, art is my favorite gift. So this is one that we got on our 2nd anniversary, and it's actually a restaurant in Savannah, Georgia. And Joe Mullican is the artist, and I found it at like Ann Irwin Fine Arts in Atlanta several years ago. And that was another Atlanta artist, Wanda Ruzicka. And it was just really, I love paintings of interiors, which is always funny to me. In my interiors, I'll put interiors. And then this is Tuck's favorite place to sit. He is our watchdog. And he likes to make sure that everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing in the neighborhood. So the fireplace in here, it was a working fireplace, and I would love to put gas in and just make it so that you can turn it on, but we haven't done that yet. So instead I decorate and just make it look pretty. So I like to so obviously it's fall right now, and so I just will use a container and then I added in pumpkins, and I added in tree limbs from outside, I snipped things from the yard. And then I got these little pumpkins on a stick from Trader Joe's, and they're just so cute and easy to use for the fall. That's always kind of a fun, it just gives you another place to decorate. So if you don't use your fireplace, you can just fill it with pumpkins and make a little area that's pretty to look at. So this is a tray on this is my grandmother's stool, and then this is the tray that when I was in high school, I was Miss Homecoming, and that was the tray that I won. And so I thought it was so funny. I put it out. I finally put it out. It's always been in a box. So as we moved into this house, I'm like, well, I'll just use it, because I was afraid it might get mixed up actually and like discarded. So anyway, that's my Miss Homecoming tray. And instead of a trophy, they gave us an engraved silver tray, which was so sweet. And then one of my friends actually put, these are some of my business logo hand embroidered cocktail napkins. I have always really enjoyed being able to show my creative side through hospitality, and it goes with the food that we make, the table setting that I create, and luckily I was able to find the things that I love and create a business around it. And originally I started with a party blog. It was a children's party blog, and I started in 2011. And it was when my children were young, and it was a great way for me to be able to put things on the web that I was doing with my kids that others could also see and enjoy. My friends were always asking me to write a book, and so my blog sort of became my book. And I was thrilled to be able to do that, but I also knew that I really wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. That was at the top of my list. And so as my kids grew up, I decided to get back into, really I thought I would do blogging. But what happened was I found that so many things had changed. I was doing a lot of content creation, and what I missed the most was those beginning years of really knowing the people and having this community. And so I decided to grow my own community, and I called it the Supper Club. And as I began the Supper Club, it was more devoted in the beginning to how to host a party, how to decorate the table, what to serve, and more of the creative hosting side. And then I suddenly realized that everybody wanted to know a little bit more about the business side that I had been learning all those years while I was kind of on hiatus. And so it evolved into a business/hospitality group. So we come for the hospitality, and we have the best time, and we do all the creative things, but we also help each other. And the number one, my members always say the number one rule is that you have to be kind. And that is kind of what I say, because it's super important to me that it is a group that helps each other, and that we bring together the things that we love, and then we boost each other in every aspect that we can. And so we get together about 3 or 4 times a year. And then we also have in-person, besides in-person, we have virtual meetups that we do on Zoom. And then we have the absolute best time, and not to mention the camaraderie, the friendships, we really care about each other, and that's the key. And so that translates into being able to also increase the business side for everyone. I was blown away by the course that it took, and in the best way possible, because it has become something that truly helps other people, and also has that thread of kindness and caring that is woven through in everything that we do. Next, I would like to take you to the previous owner's office. He was a professor, a chemistry professor, and it was his library, basically. It was full of shelves and chemistry items. So come with me and see how it's changed. So this room was the library and the office for the chemistry professor, and he had this room full of bookshelves and books. And so, as you can see, not aesthetically, but technically, it is all the same. The swoop of the ceilings are still there, and everything was maintained. And I love the glass doors. I've always been a big fan of that beveled glass. So I replaced the books with some of my own books, as well as a Majolica collection. And so you'll see different pieces. Some of it is Majolica that is vintage or antique, and then some of it is a newer version of Majolica. But this is where I housed most of my Majolica. And I love really old books, and so I was able to find some that I put up there. And then you'll see lots of party books and entertaining books that are around. So it's my version of a library, but I added a good bit of art in here. So I took out the shelving. My husband and I took out the shelving that was surrounding the other walls. And so you can see sort of what we did instead. Originally, I think this was actually wallpapered. And I have videos of my son like pulling the wallpaper down as we were redoing it. So I absolutely love Hunt Slonim and his artwork. And so I have a thing for bunnies, and have ended up collecting his art over the years, and just absolutely love everything that he does. I also put my children's portraits on each wall where there was a full library. There was a full bookshelf, and we took those out, and then we replaced them with the portraits of the kids. So that was the perfect spot for it, and being able to put the art lights over it. It's great at night to be able to put that together. So this room was originally intended to be my office. I envisioned myself with a computer and having to work and do things from this room. So I just wanted it to be bright and kind of inspiring, and the things that I really loved that would kind of, inspire the creativity. But what happened when online school came along, we ended up using these rooms, this room and then even the guest room, as the place where the kids studied and did all of their homework. So I kind of got kicked out of my office, which is just fine with me. But this is where my son and daughter would do their work, and this one too. He went to school every day too. So I replaced, instead of having like a desk, I put more books that I loved. I love tea, and I love collecting the tea boxes. And so these are some of the antique tea boxes. And then these are my bronzed baby shoes that my parents had bronzed a long time ago. So those are fun, and I have always just thought those were kind of cute and quirky. So I put those on there, and then there's a box over here that is a Nantucket artist would paint these. And so I would spend summers on Nantucket I went as a nanny when I was in college. And as most people do, I got hooked. And so I would bring back treasures for my family, and I gave this one to my grandmother. And so this is the one now that it's in my house. And it has her thimble collection inside of it. So clearly I am not the only collector in the family. Yes, and so she was very big into embroidery and needlepoint and sewing of all sorts. So I didn't even realize that she had put her her thimbles in there until recently. So it was kind of funny that I hadn't even opened it. So another thing I really love to do is just have a big thing of flowers. I think, like I said, flowers make a room just shine. And so I always try to keep something. These are giant peonies, and I got those at Trader Joe's. So whenever I see a peony, I just kind of grab them and put them around. Chairs are from Parker Kennedy Living, and I love that animal print with all the different solids and stripes and things. I think it just kind of adds a different layer. So the curtains, I had those made when we were in a house, and the room was actually bright yellow, and I had a really good time with fabric. This is Trisha Guild, Designers Guild, and I also did this hot pink sofa. So this was also my grandmother's. I obviously just adored my grandmother. I seem to have loved everything she had. So I think of her every time, and I always think of how much she would laugh that I actually put pink all over it, that I recovered it. So it's a Designers Guild hot pink with velvet cutout. So it's very, very beautiful. It used to be a lot darker, and because of these lovely windows that we have that are so old, there's no protection from the sun. So all of the furniture gets a little faded, but we just kind of go with it. And we certainly have no problem relaxing on any of it. A few more of the Hunt Sloanums that I love. That was the very first one, the blue diamond dust. And my daughter helped pick that out. And so I always loved that because I let her help choose which one we would get, because it was pretty special to get one. And so I love it that she helped. I have a few more over on that side with my tiny one at the top. It's my prize. I love him. It's so tiny. He's a little bitty baby bunny, and I just absolutely, I feel like I found a unicorn when I found him. So it's such a cute one. And then the daisy and this bunny. And what I really love are those frames, because they have vintage and really they're antique frames. And I kind of like the older the better for me. I like that it's a piece of pop art, or like, popular culture art, then put into a vintage frame. And I think that's where the character really shines. So those are the ones I gravitate toward. A couple other things. These are my kids' silhouettes, and then that one is mine from when I was a little girl that my mom and dad had done. So I love having the three of us up there. We keep laughing. We're gonna have to make one for my husband so we can have all four. That's like a classic cricket box from the 80s. This was at my mom's and my grandmother's. I always saw these on all the tables, the brass cricket boxes. So I think that it is a perfect bolt of shine over here. And then that really dark bowl at the very top is it's from our honeymoon. It's from Bora Bora, and we brought it back. It was our one little keepsake that we wanted to have, that we always take and keep and put in all of our houses. So I fill it with different. Right now it has boxwoods in it, so it's nice. But yeah, those are probably the things that are so like sentimental and special. Here's a piece of Majolica. I remember being like 20 and finding this at a store and just feeling so mature. So I love this vase and just the shape of it and the colors and all of that. So I can vividly remember finding an antique store on the side of the road in Atlanta and found that little jewel. So she goes with me everywhere. So those are some of the most special parts and pieces that I have in this room. I will show you this light fixture. There's a chandelier in here that is Murano glass, and when you see it, you will see why I had to have it for this room. It was pretty much perfect, and the colors, it just needed to come home, I thought, and live here. So here it is, and it's just a nice focal point that brings it all together. One thing that I'll point out that is nice, garden stools. I wanted to tell you guys about garden stools because I think they've become a lot more popular, but you can also find vintage ones that really warm up your space and add this incredible touch, and it's just such a nice thing. I'm going to pull this chair over a little bit so you can see how it looks even with that animal print. And then this is from the Fab Foo in Raleigh, North Carolina, and she had a pair of matching. So I have one on each side, and they make the most perfect spot for little drinks and things. So when you're looking, and garden stools are becoming a lot more popular, for use indoors. And as you're looking around in vintage or antique places, look for them, because that adds a lot of character to your house too. When you just find something that is, you're not gonna find it in every store, but it's actually really useful. Next, let's go to the dining room. I have it set for you so that you can have ideas for bringing your friends together for like Friendsgiving or just a fall time around the table. So come with me and I'll show you all the fun details I've put out for you. Welcome to the dining room. This is where I love to bring people together, and my favorite thing is to put details out that let them know I thought of them. And I think that a lot of people feel like they have to sometimes go overboard just to impress, but in my opinion, it's never for impressing, it's just to show really that you're thinking of them. So your style may be very different from my style. I just happen to really like it. So if you would love to put out a white tablecloth and have pizza or any kind of things like that you can just order in, then do that. But I want to show you some ideas if you want to fancy it up a little bit or level it up and you want to do some Thanksgiving ideas. Or this would be great for, like I said, Friendsgiving or any time in the fall. Again, my color scheme is based on the colors of our house with a lot of orange put in to kind of pull in those, orangey vibes for fall. But again, for this centerpiece, I went and found a bunch of roses, and I got them all at Trader Joe's, and I did all of the different colors, and I really enjoy doing flower arrangements. I probably could spend all day doing them. The way I I pulled the wheat in the other room. This one I did Veronica, which I love the shape of it and the way it looks like it's dancing. And then these look like a cactus. I don't really know what this is, but it's not something I would normally pick. And so I chose it for the texture and the way it looks, just a little more fall-like and a little less spring-like. So I use spring colors, and I don't try to pretend that I don't, but I also incorporate some of those little rusticy looking type of fall things that make you feel like you are looking at something that is appropriate for the season. So another thing that I really enjoy making, and my mom used to make these when I was little, these apple trees. So the form is really the only part that you need, and it's a wooden form with nails in it. And I get mine at Cotton and Quill, and she makes them and sells them. She'll ship to you. So if you want a form, I can show you an even taller one in a little while. But these are the smaller size ones. And you just put all of the apples on. It's very, very Williamsburg, and that's what I remember from my mom. She loved everything about Williamsburg. And so that's where you just do those towers of apples, super easy. And these are all pieces of greenery from my yard. So it's super easy to find things outside in your yard that you can put in, and you just need little clippings. So it's just small pieces and that you then put back in. The ribbons I always like ivory in the fall and the winter. I love winter white. So I feel like it kind of takes it less Christmassy or anything like that and just gives it a warm feeling. So I love the ivory ribbons. I like for the drape. I think it looks special. The bowls that I put them in are my grandmother's, and it's this type of glass that I see it a lot, and I just I didn't put anything in this yet because I wanted to show you what I like to do is to take something from family items and stack them in, and then you could fill this with either greenery or you could fill it with flowers. Same thing with that little teacup and saucer over there. That's another family item that has been in our family that I wanted to incorporate on the table, and I love to do that to make sure that, like we were saying earlier, we just layer in all of the aspects of family life. And speaking of family, these were my parents' glasses. When they were married, they registered for them. My mom decided she was ready for me to have them, so I now have all 12, I believe. So it's water and wine. And people always ask me, how do you know which one to put first, water or wine? So I always tell people it's like saying you're going to turn water into wine, or you can remember it alphabetically, W-A and W-I. So even the white and the red go alphabetically, if that helps. So those are some tricks to be able to remember. A couple of other things about the table that I think are really kind of easy to do. I wanted to show you, this is just a note card, like a gift tag. Preppy Paper Girl on Etsy, Laurie Byrne, and it's just a note tag that you can punch a hole in and tie to a gift, so it's like a gift tag. But I just take them and fold them in half, and then I just write the names on them. And even though, especially if you do it fast, you can make a nice thing, but then you just write in the name, and you can make a place card out of it. So even if you're in a pinch and you want to make a place card, but you don't have the exact, thing called a place card, you can create your own. So always finding things around the house, even stationery, I'll create things out of it. So another very fun way to add some pretty elegance to your table is these, I call them twillies. They're made by the Preppy Stitch, and she and I worked together to develop these for my supper club when I first started. And I told her I wanted to be able to monogram any napkin without having to monogram a napkin. And so I wanted to add ribbon with the monogram, and that way you could tie them onto any napkin, and then you instantly have a monogrammed napkin, or at least the look of it. I like to find fabric remnants and then create my own tablecloths with them. So one thing I'll tell you about our dining room is I used to have a very traditional table and chairs. It was the big oval table, and I had the Chippendale sort of hefty chairs. And when I started hosting the supper club for my daughter, there were about 20 to 24 girls that would come over each. We did it 6 times a year, so roughly every other month. And I couldn't get them all seated very easily with those big chunky chairs. So I really wanted to find something smaller that would work. And I like it that I could go indoor and outdoor, because I really would have to seat them in different places sometimes. So I was maximizing my space when I took out the beautiful wooden dining room set and replaced it with these chairs. These are from Parker Kennedy Living. And they look like lattice or trellis-backed chairs. They are indoor-outdoor fabric on the seats, so that way I can take them to the porch if I need to. And they're just painted white, so they are the wrought iron painted white, and they've been perfect because they're narrow, and it allows me to add more people to the table, and that's my main goal. So that was where these are coming from. Another thing that I think you guys might like are these lamps. So I was walking through a store, and I walked right by them, and behind me was Lance of Parker Kennedy Living, and he stopped in his tracks and he said, "You need those for your dining room." And so luckily he spotted them in the corner and just immediately saw that would be the perfect lamp for this space. So I can't take any credit for that, but I think they have added so much to this room. And so earlier I was describing how I had my office in the other room. Well, this really has become my office. And my brother-in-law calls it the lab, where I do all my experiments. But it's really where I design everything and take photos. You'll see this piece over in the corner that I use a lot of times for different party themes. And recently wrote a book about my supper club, because everybody in my supper club is really great at doing party themes. And so I recognized that we could really do something great with all of that creativity. And so I decided in the beginning of the year that we would put together a book showcasing everybody's creative side when it comes to tables and parties. And so that book will be coming out in spring. But this is one of the pieces that I use in rotation whenever I'm designing something, I decorate the top, I put Christmas trees on it. I really wanted to put a cornucopia up there for you guys today. I just can envision it with like the fruits and the things coming down. But anyway, so this is something my husband built for me, and it's just a regular fold-out table with the lattice trellis attached and then the top. So, and I add real greenery and real flowers, and it has been a million different themes, but it's a really fun piece to use. And so I know it's not exactly the norm to have this in your dining room, but everybody's gotten used to it, and it actually works as a great serving place sometimes if I need to put extra things there. So it's not always here, but it's usually here. So I enjoy it. It's just like a creative canvas where I can just go to work. Each November I host a holiday party for my supper club members, and that last year it was all Christmas trees, and that's when they were on top, and they were jeweled, and it was very, very elaborate. But I did the whole dessert bar right here, and it was just a great place. And everybody actually sat outside in the front yard. So this whole room was available to use for serving and things like that. So I really just changed this room up a lot depending on what I'm doing and who's coming over. With all the things around your house, you can put a table together pretty quickly, even if you look outside of the box. Like, I have all of these items in this china cabinet, and I constantly use them, and I mix and I match. And one thing that I really like to do, I'll tell you this, is I like to get like 2 of each dinner plate. And let's see if I can find one that's going to be easy to take out. So I'll get, these are 2 different, these are 2 of the same, obviously. And then I'll get 2 of a different pattern. So that way I can always create a table that is going to be different. So instead of getting, I do have 12 of these golden white ones because those are such a, perfect standard use. But then when I want to mix it up, and I use these a lot with my supper club when I get together with them. I have 24 of these plates, and so I just set a different table every time, but I can reuse these plates. So they're all different, but I do have 2 of each design. I get these at Gaines Jewelers, and they're great at letting me order two of whatever I want. So I love being able to just call and ask what's new, and then it's easy also to get to get either a bread plate or a salad plate to mix and match. So those are helpful ways of adding in different patterns to your table. Well, because my husband has always been in the building industry, this is actually the 5th house that we've lived in, and so we plan to stay in this one. But along the way, we always knew we would move probably every 2 to 3 years, and so knowing that, I think I took a lot more sort of chances, and I was a lot more confident and a lot bolder with my colors and all of that at each house, because I knew we would be painting right over it and selling it, and we would move on. So I had a really good time being creative in the houses before. And so what we had when we moved in here was a collection of items from our other homes, and so I loved being able to find a way to use it all in here. And to be honest, when we were doing this house, my husband was really doing, it was his life from sun up to sundown. And so I knew that the best thing for him was for me to find a paint color that we could paint the entire house on the inside and just let that be. So we ended up, I picked a white that the painters mixed, I don't have a color name for it, and did the entire house the same color, every single bit of it. And it was done purposefully that way. I have a lot of art that is everywhere, and it ends up being a great backdrop for it. And then you'll see as we go through, you'll see how I added in fabrics with curtains, and then you'll see it does not hurt for color. There's color everywhere, so. I think that a lot of homes in the South embrace color, and I think it has so much to do with our environment and the warmth. I lived in New England, and I see that reflected when I'm up there. It's a different feel, and I think everybody does that. If you're in the sunny South, you have sunny, brighter colors. If you're in New York, you have a tendency to go toward grays and blacks. And I just think that it's just very reflective of where we live. And growing up in Georgia, south to the beaches, anything like that, it's always been a very colorful world. My mom is very, I would say, like traditional, but not too afraid of color. But I kind of broke through all of that, and it's very colorful. And in one of our houses, I did a hot pink room, dining room. And after I did it, it grew on us so much. We all liked it so much that we've kind of woven that thread all the way through. Even with all white walls, you'll see a lot of that pink that came in just out of kind of having a fun time with colors. You guys, I want to take you to the original bedrooms that were in the house. Like I said, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. So follow me and I'll show you what we've turned into the guest room and then the back family room. Come on. Okay, this was the original parents' room, and as you can see, it is now a guest room, and I went full out with the pink and the white. And those pink curtains actually used to be in our dining room, so that was how bright pink the dining room was. And they were too good to pass up, so I had to bring them with us and continue to use them in our next home. So as you can see, we did a bed from Society Social with the pink tape on it, did an antique starburst mirror. Those are everywhere now, but if you find something that's an antique, it will last forever. Like that will be a trend that goes away, but when you buy one that's sort of like from France or somewhere, you will treasure it a lot more. So I would highly recommend, when you find a trend, to like get one from the original location. I want to show you this wall. My friend Lance sketched every one of these. They're all different sizes and they're all different, pieces. So they're all hand sketched. And I think when we just dropped my son off at college, and I think he needed a project to just kind of, get over that first week back home of having an empty nest. So my husband went and cut down bamboo, literally cut down bamboo from the field, and he made every one of these frames. So it is original bamboo that he cut down, and then he put them together, he painted them and all of that. So each of these, there were such different sizes, it was impossible just to buy a frame and put them in. So that's why he created each one. So my husband did all of that, and we were able to hang it up and put them on the wall because they are such fascinating and fabulous sketches that Lance Jackson did of Parker Kennedy living. I added in the sconces and then the old Paris, the Paris gold plates, and don't know who that's one I found over there. It is monogrammed or engraved with a monogram, and I don't know that person, but I just loved how beautiful it is. So, and another little chintz settee from, a vintage store, and then just a little round pillow to kind of pull it all together, because I felt like there were a lot of squares and rectangles, so I wanted to add a little bit of roundness. The light fixture is one that I found at Scott Antique Market, and it has a twin light fixture in the bathroom. And as we walk around, we can go in and you'll see it. One thing to note is that my aunt, I think I told y'all, but my aunt makes Afghans, and she is no longer with us, but she had Afghans and was a whiz at them. So you'll see those around the house too. So I added that in for just a little bit of comfort. Cozy feeling. Found these at Scott Antique Market. Loved that Brunswick and Fee fabric, and actually was trying to find a bed for my parents to go in the guest room when we were moving to a different house, and I came back with these chairs instead. And my husband just laughed and said, "I don't think your parents are going to be very comfortable in those." So we eventually did find the right bed, but in the meantime, we got 2 chairs instead. Sometimes that happens. So over here are a couple more of the Ashley Longshore paintings that are the Audrey Hepburn profiles that I think are so pretty. Butterflies are big. I love butterflies. Again, my grandmother was a butterfly collector, and I think I just have that memory, and that's where I picked it up. And this was my grandmother's clock, and then here are some of the pieces of Majolica that I've collected along the way. The very top one is my very first piece, and I used to babysit for a family, and when I graduated, I can't remember if I graduated from high school or college. I think it was high school. That was what they gave me as a gift, and it started my Majelica collection. So that one's extra special. And I will say really quickly too that this pillow is from June St. George. If you guys are ever looking for just these classic pillows, I've always been taught that you're not supposed to put your monogram into your guest room because it's supposed to feel more like the guest versus yourself. So I just say it stands for marvelous. So it's for anybody who's here, you're marvelous. So that's what that's for. So this is the one bathroom that they shared, the family that lived here, one child. And before we moved in, it was a bathtub. Here, there was a bathtub, like a clawfoot tub, very heavy. When the house was lifted, it started going down, and it was a very scary moment. But replaced that, and then the commode and things, they were here. So we redid the vanity and added in the mirror and just kept it really white and pretty and plain and simple. My husband did the flooring, and if you look really closely, you'll see that we might have a little goof up here and there, but we just call it character. So these were little old, I love the little old places for storage. Super cute with the shutters on the top. Another Ashley Longshore, and then that's that matching light that I was telling you about. So that was what we did with this room, and kept it very much the same, obviously the same footprint. And then it led into the son's bedroom. And so we completely changed this. This is where we really did the most work, is back here. So this is another family area that we lovingly refer to it as the dog den, because our dogs love to hang out here. And as you can see, so these bright green chairs were some that I had in a different home, and I loved the fabric, and they just were too fun to pass up also. So I kept those and didn't even have them in this room for the longest. So it's kind of funny that they've landed here, and I love having them. Another garden stool moment there with the turtle, which is always fun to have something different. I will tell you that this hot pink little settee right here that we have, I intended for that to be for Blue, our dog. He has hip dysplasia, and he's a golden retriever, sweetest thing on earth. So I actually got that with him in mind. We call this our sofa, it's like a million shades of green, because once again, the light that comes in is just insane. So we have, 10,000 different shades of green over here, and we just embrace it because we can't do anything about the lighting. And the old windows are like magnifying glasses, and it just kills your furniture. The painting is Elizabeth Indres. She was in college when she was painting these, and I found out about her through a friend named Kara Brown, and she's in Pennsylvania, and I just was fascinated with her, and that she was so young. And so we have two of her. There's another one back there really interesting thing is that there are people in this, and we like faces of people, and we didn't know, I didn't see them, no one saw them really for a while. And then I asked my daughter one day if she saw it, and she said, oh, I do. She found it, and she had found a different one than what I had seen. So now we realize there are about 6 different little faces that are somewhere hidden in that painting. So it's kind of a fun talking point too when you have guests come over. So we like to see if they can find all the people in the painting. So this is the part of the house where we really did the most changing. And so as I just described, that was a bedroom, and it obviously had a wall, and then we took that wall down so that it would open up to the breakfast area and then into the kitchen. And what was here was a small door that came in, and it was a laundry room, and then the staircase that went to the attic. It was very narrow. It was not up to code. It went straight up right here, and it would go up into the attic. So this was all rearranged to create a different space for the kitchen. And so this looks pretty much nothing like the original kitchen did. And my husband just designed it to do, so we have a bank of cabinets here because what he did was move the staircase on the opposite side of this bank of cabinets. And to take the place of where that staircase was, it was a butler's pantry. And I loved it. It was so cute and right up my alley, but we had to have a place for some stairs. So he put stairs behind this cabinet and then just basically flipped it. So the butler's pantry was just basically turned around. And so that's what this is. So all of this is storage for all of the things. And I think one day we'll probably put glass instead of just the white. But at the time we didn't know any better, so we did that. And then this island everything's all new here. So my husband actually designed that hood and was so proud of himself. I found somebody to make it and everything. He loved it. So he did all of that, and then he put the two top cabinets. They mimic the grid on the windows. So there's that we did. We had to take out a window or two, and so to make this, because these were all windows, and it was really hard. To make this space look completely symmetrical, we would have had to take out a third window. So we opted to keep that window and just let it be a little off center. So that's a great thing about an old house. Our floors slant and things are shifted in weird ways. So it all works out fine. So we have that, and then the pantry is over there. This is one of my favorite pieces of art. Donald Robertson is his name, and he lives in Texas. And he's a great person to follow on Instagram if you enjoy art. But he's very funny, and so this is one that it just depicts. It was Eloise's or Madeline's party. I think it's Eloise's party at Tiffany's is what it is. So it's a bunch of characters from different things. And I used to be a second grade teacher, and so it especially speaks to me with Madeline and Curious George and Eloise, and then of course Corduroy the bear. Here's Annie. Daddy Warbucks. It's just a lot of fun. So it's just a cute little Miss Clavel. And when my daughter was little, I actually hosted a Madeline party for her. That was the theme, and we had the best time with Miss Clavel, and her kindergarten teacher came dressed up as Miss Clavel. Anyway, we had a great time. So it just makes me think of those fun memories, but I love that one. So over here at this table, I set a more traditional Thanksgiving table for you guys. And in our family, Thanksgiving is celebrated here at our house. In the past, it was at my aunt's house, and then it was at my parents' house. And now we have the honor of hosting everyone at our house. So we love having everybody get together here. I usually we have about 14 people, so I usually this used to be the kid table. They've all grown up, and they just, we can all fit in the dining room. And if so, then we do. But we have extended family come, and so I do like a kid table. And this one I did a lot more traditionally Thanksgiving with pumpkins and all of that and the colors. So this is hen house linens with the tablecloth and the napkins, and those are just really great linens for your table for that casual feel, and then you can also elevate it. So I like how it's easy to wash and wear. It's not like the other one that I did that's like fabric and it has to be dry cleaned and all of that. That is totally different. I put the fringe on it and all of that. So these are very, very user friendly. And then I take Majolica. I use these at Thanksgiving a lot. These are Majolica plates that are a little bit of British. At Thanksgiving always makes me think of sort of the Pilgrim, the Mayflower. So I do add in a little bit of that vibe to it. One thing that you might enjoy seeing, have you ever heard of Toby cups or Toby mugs? That is a traditional mug that they use in the pubs in England, and these are the miniature versions. And so this is like a beer stein in England. They would drink their beer out of the Toby mugs. So I just like to collect the little miniature ones, and then I use them for flower arrangements. And they kind of make me laugh because I think when I lived in England and did my student teaching there, it was fall. So I think in my head, I think of the pubs in England and all of that. So I always bring that through. And they actually hosted a Thanksgiving meal for us while we were there, which was very cute and funny. So I always think of that too. But anyway, these are all different. Like this one has a pirate, has a little, what do you call it, a little bird on his shoulder. And then this one over here is a different guy. So they're all different. And honestly, whenever you have a kids table, especially a grown-up kids table, having little antique pieces that they don't know what in the world it is, it gives me an opportunity to tell them a little bit of history and to also make them laugh. Because and honestly, I try to match up who I think, like, not necessarily looks like them, but like who would have the pirate or who would have the, the one that has, a funny hat or whatever. So those are fun. I always like to add a little bit of humor into the table, especially at Thanksgiving. Another thing that I like to do is I'll make my own place cards again with those gift tags. And for this one, I just stapled together 2 different ones. And I like to put a little note or a message on the inside that says why I'm thankful for them. So I think it's a special thing. I think as much as we can remind people what their value is, and any opportunity that you have, especially the young kids, but really everybody, it's really important, and it really makes their whole day. So I try to add a little note on the back, and that's why I put 2 together, of just like why I'm thankful for them, or usually it's something about their personality, like thank you for being generous and thank you for being thoughtful, things like that. So I like to add a little something that they can maybe take home with them and keep with them to be a reminder of why I think they're pretty special. So this nice little thing to do at the table for your guests or for your family. Everybody loves to be appreciated, right? And then for the centerpiece, I did a pumpkin, and I like to put a salad in there because kids especially love to eat out of something that's unusual. So to put a pumpkin, and it's pottery, it's not like anything, if something happened to it, it would be fine. But I did put my grandmother's Florentine tray under it. And so I like to do an arugula salad, and I know if I'm trying something that's kind of different, especially with kids, that if I put it in a different type of serving dish, they will be more likely to try it. So that's my salad. That's my salad server. It could be soup, but we're in the South and it doesn't get cold enough for soup. So, well, being a second grade teacher, I have like a lot of little games and tricks. That one thing we do is we do like pass the pumpkin. It's your turn to talk if you're holding the pumpkin, and then you pick somebody to tell what you're thankful for about them, or you can actually go around the whole table and everybody gets like a word that you want to say about them. I used to teach adjectives, so you get to like describe them in one word, something nice. So just different, you can be very creative with the ways that you do it. With kids, a lot of times they need something like a pumpkin to hold so that they know that it's their turn to talk and that everybody else is supposed to listen. And it's not one of those things that you just kind of put down and just tell them to go for it. You explain it to them, and they will respect that and typically do it. So it's really a fun way to get them to kind of talk and engage, especially if they're feeling shy or, not sure they want to talk at the table. So it lightens it up. I love Thanksgiving. It's one of my favorites because everybody's just kind of having fun, eating, and there's no big stress. It's just all about being grateful and thankful. Home as a concept means to me so many things, really, but if I had to, I could probably narrow it to 3 things, and I would say, first of all, it's a wholesome place. It's a wholesomeness, it's a feeling, and that's what I'm hoping that my kids always feel, that they have that no matter where they go, no matter what the world tells them, they can come back here and they can have their values that were rooted here, and they can know that they can be and they can let their burdens go. They can have celebrations here, but it's a place that you will find where it is going to be a place where we work through anything that's needed, but it's that wholesome vibe. A little dash of Pollyanna, which I love. I think that home should feel really like a reset, that you can be happy here, and I think that's why it's so bright and cheerful in our house, is that I want it to be uplifting, and I want anyone who comes here to leave feeling happier and truly like uplifted and delighted. So, and the other thing, I think home is certainly a gift to be able to share with others, and that's so important to me because just like an artist has a canvas and different people have creative outlets, I think everyone is creative in some way. And just being able to have people in my home, that is my creative outlet, but it's also a gift that I use to be able to, share with others, not my house so much, but just the welcoming, the warmth, the gratitude for friendship. I want to be able to express my thanks for their friendship and for being in my life. And so it's a place to celebrate. It's a place to bring people together. And that is what home means to me. Bye, Homeworthy. Thank you for coming. I'm so glad you were here, and I hope to see you again soon.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.